I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnn. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Half hour brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. 6 great flavors of slushies. And ready-to-drink cocktails. High Noon, Crown Royal, Jack Daniels. Pickle Bar, led by the Barrels and the Dills, indeed second to none. Stock up for the Frozen Four on Thursday night at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. So, I've already explained the dead period, quiet period to you. Basketball's in a dead period.
Steve, we got Gerry, Dulac.
Oh, sorry about that. But I just want to point out to everybody that the dead period ends Friday, and the quiet period for football extends for a period of time here in terms of how they go about and how they do it. The outstanding Gerry Dulac joins us. It's Masters time, and we might as well go to the master himself. My friend, welcome back.
Well, Steve, as you know, always a treat to be with you, and I can promise you that there is no dead time or quiet time with the Steelers or the NFL.
No.
As you well know, that's become, with the exception of about 3 to 4 weeks from late June to mid-July. Otherwise, when everybody's off, there is no quiet time for the Steelers, which is why I enjoy the advent of the Masters for sure.
Yes. Before I get to the advent of the Masters, is this essentially a timetable between now and day one of the draft, like this time frame here, as to what Aaron Rodgers decides?
You know, Steve, I can't even tell you that with certainty because I don't know. I've never gotten any feel or any sense from them, from the Steelers, that there's any kind of drop-dead date. And so while you would think it would have that they would want to get it done before the draft, I really don't think anything they do with Aaron Rodgers is going to dramatically affect their draft. And I say that because even if they don't sign him, I don't see them taking a quarterback in the first round. They have too many other things they probably need to address. And if they would sign Aaron Rodgers, where I would expect them to maybe look at a quarterback is the 3rd round and probably more likely the 4th. And I say that because they don't have a number 2 pick. And I can't see them. I don't think where they're picking from, they have a grade on anybody in the 1st round. And in the 3rd round, I mean, you know, let's say they take a defensive lineman. Well, they do need a running back. I don't see them bringing in a quarterback as any type of competition, at least for now. And even if they don't sign Aaron Rodgers, Steve, they're going to sign a veteran quarterback because they always go into every year with 2 starter-capable quarterbacks because that's just the way they've always believed. If there's an injury, they want to have a guy who could come in and who has played And so I'm not saying it's going to be Joe Flacco or Carson Wentz, but it's going to be somebody like that to back up Mason Rudolph at this point. And what I believe, Steve, is that they are all in 2026 on trying to find their quarterback, positioning themselves with draft picks, maybe a trade to get a higher pick, and then package all that in 2026 to move up where they need to go to make the deal to get a quarterback who they hope and feel is going to be their franchise guy. I don't see them doing that this year, right? Because right now all their eggs are in Aaron Rodgers' basket for 2025. And so that's the way I think they will proceed.
All right, the Masters itself, it's been an interesting early season to this stage because Rory McIlroy has done some things well, including winning the Players. And we all know this is the one he hasn't won. Is this about as geared into position for this tournament as he's been, in your opinion?
I don't think there's any question about it. I think in 2018 he came in on a bit of a roll, but he's never come to the Masters with 2 wins already under his belt. And, he won the Players, Steve, without really his A game. Missing a lot of fairways, missing enough greens, but he navigated his wedge game has improved. Everybody's talked about, and you saw it on a couple of those shots coming in, where he takes something off his irons to control the ball better, to flight it better. He's become a better putter, but his short game has been improved. And I've always felt that if he is at the top of his game, he's the best player in the world, and that includes Scottie Schreffler. Now, it's hard to argue with what Scottie Scheffler's done because his consistency in terms of being at the top is very impressive. It's Tiger-like. I'm not going to say it's Tiger, but it's Tiger-like, what we've seen the last 2 years. But, yes, I believe that Rory comes in with his best shot ever to do it. And just imagine, though, Steve, only 5 guys have won golf's Grand Slam. So the pressure on him, because he hasn't won a major now in, 11 years? Yeah. The pressure on him to win a major and win the Masters is probably the greatest on any player in the game. I mean, Jordan Spieth has a chance, could win the Grand Slam. Phil Mickelson, not here. Jordan Spieth has to win the PGA. Phil Mickelson has to win, a U.S. Open. I think I saw where there's 12 players who have 3 of the 4 majors who had a chance to complete the Grand Slam. None of them have done it, and only 5 have done it in history. So it shows you how hard it is to do. But the pressure on Rory to win the Masters and to end that major drought is greater than any pressure any player in the game right now faces. And that's what he has to deal with year after year, and that has to be a daunting task.
Well, when you're sitting there and Mickelson hasn't done it, and Tom Watson hasn't done it, and Arnold Palmer, of all people, hasn't done it, right, it's difficult to obviously do. That's why there's only 5. Nick Faldo hasn't done it. I mean, and these are all guys that have, Lee Trevino hasn't done it. These are all guys with 6 or more majors in their career haven't done it.
Right. And so that's what Rory's trying to do. And Steve, I don't think there is any doubt he is the most popular international player in America ever. Greg Norman in his time was very popular here for his graciousness, for his talent, for his flair. I think Rory has surpassed that because he's such a spokesman for the game, an ambassador for the game. He's a gentleman, tremendous talent, the greatest driver of the ball that I think the game has ever seen. Greg Norman has long held that title, but I think Rory surpasses him. And Americans pull for this guy, and so he would be an extremely popular champion.
Right, but he's not going to be the only guy out there, and that's one of the problems. You have to beat the course and eventually be better than the other guys trying to beat the course. Scottie Schreffler comes in. Since the injury, how well has he played?
Well, he hasn't been. His total strokes gained right now are as good as they were last year at this time, but his putting is not as good, and so that's kind of what's held him back. I found it curious, that of the, I think, 15 events, 14 events, only 5 Americans have won those events. The start of the tour has been dominated by international players. Scottie, of course, not one of them, hasn't won yet this year, but, he's won 2 of the last 3 here. There's certainly no reason he can't do it again, and everybody would love to see, kind of rooting to see the Rory Scheffler matchup down on Sunday afternoon. Now, we've seen that and talked about that for years with Tiger and Mickelson, and it never developed where they were in the hunt on Sunday in the final pairing for the green jacket. That's what everybody would love to see with the top 2 players in the world. But, there's some other guys behind them as well, and I think a guy that I have thought for since the start of last year, and actually since the end of the 2023 season, that I thought Ludvig Aberg would be a guy. I said then he's going to win a major. Yep. I thought he would win one last year. He was close here last year. I think he finished tied for 3rd. He's another guy to keep an eye on. He's a tremendous talent, and when he wins one, he's going to win several because he is very, very good. And so, you have other guys behind him. Jordan Spieth, nobody plays the Masters better than Jordan Spieth. He's the all-time leader in career scoring average. And Steve, when I watch him, I sit there and say, now I don't think this guy can ever win again, because he's just so up and down. He seems to not be comfortable playing anymore. I know he always looked a little jittery and whatnot, but when he gets to Augusta, that stretch he had from 2014 to 2016, where 8 of 10 rounds he led the Masters, you haven't seen that from anybody. And so, when he gets here, he's very good, but his game just hasn't been for the last couple of years. Just hasn't been sharp enough to win another major.
You and I know base talent because we've seen base talent emerge. But is it difficult to get a read on the LIV guys coming into this tournament because it's not the PGA Tour, which is on TV every week?
I don't think there's any question about that. You look at a guy like Joaquin Niemann, who's won twice already in 5 starts. He is a very talented player from Chile. Is he a guy? Could he come in here and win? Well, he's a guy worth keeping your eye on. But you look at what Bryson DeChambeau did last year in the majors. Yeah. Three top 8s, and he won the U.S. Open. He was tied for 6th, I think, last year at the Masters. He was the first-round leader, if you recall, Steve, with a 65. I love to watch Bryson DeChambeau. He's the one guy I'm sure the PGA Tour wishes they had back. He is so good for the game of golf. He has so many followers, young followers on social media. He is great for the game, and he would be, just as he was with the U.S. Open, he would be a popular champion. John Rahm sits there and quote opines/whines about wanting to play in the big events. Well, he gets his chance. As a former Masters champ, he gets his chance here. And how do you discount Brooks Koepka? 2 Masters runner-ups and 5 majors. And to sit there and think that, he's not capable of contending, well, don't dismiss that for a second, because he could get out there. He's playing a little better. It is. You're right. It's just hard to judge, the competition on the LIV Tour, the motivation. But this is their opportunity. And I'm sure whatever they do on LIV, a lot of it in the last month or so is geared toward getting ready for this and the other majors.
In your opinion, as golf fans, are we going to have to live with this split for a while?
Yeah, it's looking more and more like there's not going to be some joint venture. Despite all the positive talk a couple months ago, they had the meetings at the White House, and it looked like that was going to be a step in the right direction. But I really don't see anything right now, Steve, based on what I hear and what I read, that there's going to be some kind of unification between the tours, and I think they're going to be destined to be split. I just can't imagine the players on the PGA Tour not so much not welcoming those guys personally, but just professionally speaking, guys who left their tour, grabbed the money, and now all of a sudden the people, they're going to, at some point in time, going to say in some form or another that, you know what, it's okay to come back. And I just don't see that would be a tough pill to swallow for a lot of PGA Tour players. And I'm not sure, despite everything we've heard and read, I don't know. I just don't see that happening anytime soon.
I think most fans are incredibly familiar with Augusta National because it's played every year and it's appointment television. So for you, what are normally a couple of holes that you look at on day 4 that you think in your mind are always going to be potentially pivotal? Well,
if I would tell anybody on Sunday where to go, I would tell them go sit by 12T because you can watch 11 green.
Yeah.
The approaches on 11, you watch the tee shot on 12. While you can't really see the tee box on 13, you can see where it ends up, and you can't see the green on 13 from there, but you can see the approach shot itself. Mm-hmm. That would be the best, because after that, 15 green, 16 tees, obviously good. But, but they're all individual holes. 15 goes down, 16's kind of hidden a little, 17 goes the other way, 18 goes up the hill away from 17. So it's hard to get one single spot, but that's why I say down in Amen Corner you can actually see 3 holes. And, of course, there are always 3 dangerous holes, 11 especially, 12 so dang tricky, and then 13 is so exciting. So that on Sunday is the best spot. Where I used to like to hang early, Steve, was always behind 2 green. You can see 3 tee shot, who decides to pull the driver on that shortish hole, who plays for position, and then you could just you can walk 20 steps and see 7 green, and if you want to walk to the left, you could see 8 tee shot. So to me, I always thought that was a neat viewing area right there, because you could catch 4 holes basically by turning around, spinning, and taking 20, 25 steps.
Well, I will see you at the U.S. Open, by the way. So,
I am glad to hear that, and of course, if I can help you in any way, you let me know. But that would be a real treat for me.
I think we can make that happen. So I'm looking forward to it. I think we can make that happen, my friend. Always a pleasure. My best to your great family, and thanks for the time.
Steve, thank you. I thank you for those wishes, and we will catch up soon, my friend. Anytime.
That was great.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.
There's something to be said about a sale with a handshake, a service technician who really knows what he's doing. They can explain it in English what the problem is. There's nothing better than having that friend you could trust in the area. That's Sunbury Motors, where you get selection, knowledgeable salespeople, and prices that fit your budget, and more important, that friend you can trust. Welcome to Sunbury Motors, Kia, Ford, and Hyundai. You could shop other dealers and compare prices, but at Sunbury Motors, you get their lowest price promise. They research the current used vehicle market and guarantee their used car prices are the lowest. If you find a lower price, Sunbury Motors will beat it. 3 dealers all in one. See their full new and pre-owned inventory at sunburymotors.com. Pick out a vehicle you like and schedule your test drive online. Follow them on Facebook. Sunbury Motors Ford and Hyundai, North 4th Street, Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf.